As you can see, majority of people in the Middle Ages looked at paintings for guidance and hope. Most could not read. Images taught lessons, marked holy time, and made distant stories feel close. Painters worked to meet those needs. They trained for years. They learned recipes for color. They learned how to plan a wall or a panel so the story would read at a glance. Their world stretched from Irish scriptoria to Italian city workshops to the courts of Burgundy. The work changed with place and with time, but one thread ran through it all. A painting had to carry meaning that people could trust. Overall, art and paintings have existed for centuries and has always been a way to express oneself, alongside being the staple for cultures. But today, let's go over the medieval ages. First, we would have to start with where painters came from. So from what we know, many learned in workshops tied to city guilds. A master took in boys and a few girls as apprentices. Training began with simple tasks: sweep the floor, grind pigments, mix glue, stretch linen, gesso a wooden panel until it felt like stone, copy letters, trace a hand. Apprentices moved from chores to drawing. They learned how to turn a design into a finished work under deadlines and contracts. The guild checked quality. Patrons expected the gold to be real, the colors to last, and the subject to match the agreement. Materials shaped the look. On panels, painters used egg tempera. Egg yolk bound powdered color into a fast-drying paint. It set hard and thin. Strokes were small and careful. Flesh tones grew from layers. Shadows were cool. Lights were warm. For wall work, painters used fresco. A team laid wet lime plaster in sections the size of a day's labor. While the plaster was still damp, the painter brushed in the design. As the wall dried, the pigment locked into the surface. Fresco gave broad, durable color, but allowed only as much detail as a day would permit. Gold leaf added light that no pigment could match. Painters laid bole, burnished the gold, and tooled it with stamps that caught candlelight in a dark church. Colors carried meaning and cost. Ultramarine came from lapis lazuli, mined far away and ground with care. Contracts sometimes named it by price and amount. Patrons often asked for the Virgin's cloak in that deep blue. Vermilion gave rich reds. Verdigris offered green, but could shift over time. Lead white covered well, but carried risk to the workshop. These choices were not only technical, they were moral and social choices too, because color showed honor and set rank within the picture. Subjects followed the needs of faith and community. In many places, the main task was sacred art. Painters showed Mary and Christ. They showed saints who mattered in that town. They showed scenes that the priest could preach from on a feast day. Images often included symbols that viewers knew well. A lily meant purity. A dove stood for the Holy Spirit. A lamb pointed to sacrifice. A book marked a teacher. These cues guided people who stood far from the altar and listened more than they read. Painters also took civic jobs. They painted banners, coats of arms, and courtroom pictures that taught the duties of good rule. Private homes began to want images too, especially in the later Middle Ages. Small panels and decorated prayer books brought sacred scenes into daily life. The story of style runs across centuries. Early medieval painting in the Latin West grew inside monasteries and royal centers. In Ireland and Northumbria, scribes and painters turned texts into glowing pages. Interlace patterns, animal forms, and tight knotwork flowed around gospel words. The Book of Kells and the Lindisfarne Gospels show the care of that work. On the continent, Carolingian and Ottonian courts revived older Roman ideas. Artists studied modeling, drapery, and classical motifs while keeping clear, ordered layouts for sacred use. Figures felt solemn and frontal because clarity mattered more than drama. In the East, Byzantine artists developed a stable language for holy images. Panel icons and large church programs showed calm faces and measured gestures. Gold grounds signaled a space beyond earth. Proportions stretched to serve meaning rather than anatomy. Painters followed set types so viewers could recognize who they saw and what was being taught. This consistency helped images travel across regions from Constantinople to the Balkans to Russes. It also allowed a painter to step into a workshop far from home and still meet the standard. Romanesque art in the 11th and 12th centuries brought large mural cycles and painted sculpture to stone churches across Europe. Walls apses, and portals taught whole narratives. Strong lines, firm zones of color, and clear hierarchies kept the message legible from the nave. At the same time, small objects carried painting into daily devotion. Ivory, enamel, and panel work supported prayer in homes and inside chapels. The goal was unity. Building, sculpture, glass, and paint worked together to surround the faithful with a single story. From the mid-12th century, Gothic builders opened walls to light with pointed arches and ribs. Windows grew tall. Stained glass turned sunlight into color and text. Painters on panel and parchment adapted to this change. Figures began to move with more grace. Drapery formed finer folds. Faces showed more feeling. The international Gothic style spread across courts in France, Bohemia, and Italy. It favored delicate lines and elegant curves. It loved fine pattern and clear, bright hues. Books of Hours, the personal prayer books of laypeople, brought miniature painting to a wide public. Workshops like that of the Limbourg brothers filled pages with small scenes that glowed under candlelight. Italy pushed another way as well. In Florence and Assisi, around 1300, painters searched for weight and space. Cimabue kept the solemn frontality of earlier art, but gave bodies more presence. His younger contemporary Giotto went further. He set figures in rooms that looked like places. He turned heads toward each other. He bent knees that felt like knees. He placed shadows where light would demand. He did not leave the gold ground behind in an instant, but he used volume to carry feeling. Viewers could sense grief at a tomb, anger in a crowd, and calm in a blessing hand. Siena developed its own voice. Duccio chose tender lines and glowing color. Simone Martini made slim figures that moved with courtly ease. Ambrogio Lorenzetti painted good government for the city hall and showed a town at work under just rule. Those civic pictures help us see how painters served both altar and council. North of the Alps in the 15th century, oil painting changed the craft. Linseed or walnut oil dried slowly. It let painters blend, glaze, and correct. They could render glass, metal, fur, and skin with unusual clarity. Jan van Eyck built images that reward close study and long looking. A light on a bead, a reflection in a mirror, a hair that catches a highlight. Rogier van der Weyden took that technical skill and pushed emotion. A grieving face feels near. Bodies echo each other to pull the eye through the scene. Later, Hieronymus Bosch filled panels with moral lessons in strange landscapes. His work puzzled and warned at the same time. These painters did not reject devotion. They made it specific, present, and sometimes troubling. Workshops ran like small businesses. Masters met patrons, wrote contracts, and managed staff. Contracts named the subject and the size. Many named the amount of gold and the quality of blue. Deadlines mattered because a feast day or a chapel dedication could not move. Assistants handled underdrawing and large flats. The master reserved faces and hands. Some panels bear marks that tell us who did what. Punches used for gold halos match across works. Drawing styles show a master's hand at key moments. In books, scribes wrote the text first. Painters then planned margins and miniatures. Gold went down early in the process, so later strokes would overlap it with clean edges. Women took part more often than many assume. Nuns illuminated manuscripts inside convents. Named women appear in colophons and self-portraits. We see the nun Guda write her name and image into a book in the 12th century. We meet Enda in Spain, working on a Batus manuscript in the 10th. In cities, daughters of masters learned the trade within family shops. Surviving records are thin, but they show presence, not absence. Patrons shaped content. A parish asked for its saint at the center. A confraternity wanted its members kneeling at the edge. A city ordered a cycle that linked sacred time to civic pride. Donors sometimes appear in the picture at a smaller scale. They kneel near the holy figures, not as equals, but as witnesses and models. The inclusion taught viewers how to look and how to act. Gifts, alms, and prayer stood side by side with images to form a complete practice. Symbolism guided choices. A background of gold did more than look rich. It lifted the scene out of ordinary space. Blue for Mary spoke hope and honor. Red for Christ signaled love and sacrifice. A book could be closed to show mystery or open to show teaching. A palm marked a martyr. A tower linked a female saint to her legend. None of this was random. Painters worked with clergy to get it right. The goal was not naturalism for its own sake. The goal was clarity with feeling. Regional habits stayed distinct, even as ideas moved. Italian painters liked clear outlines and built space with architecture. Northern painters modeled forms with light and shadow and loved textures that felt close to touch. Iberian workshops kept strong storylines and bright color in panel and polychrome sculpture. Byzantine painters maintained holy types and strict programs for church interiors. Trade, travel, and marriages across courts mixed these traits in many places. Yet a viewer from the time could often tell where a work was from at a glance. The daily pace of work felt steady and physical. A panel began with wood joined and laced on the back to resist warping. Linen and glue made a skin. Gesso built a smooth ground. The master sketched with charcoal and then incised lines with a stylus. Gold leaf went down before paint. Tempera layers rose from dark to light, with small hatches to soften transitions. Final details tied the whole together. In fresco, the wall ruled the clock. The team plastered a section in the morning and painted it that day. Lines from the full-size drawing transferred to the wet surface with dust through pinpricks or with light cuts. Mistakes had to wait for the next day and a fresh layer. Display shaped how people saw the work. Altarpieces opened and closed with the church calendar. On weekdays, you might see saints in simple frames. On feast days, the wings opened to a richer scene. Candlelight pulled gold forward. Windows of colored glass turned the nave into a theater of light. Books lived close to the body. Owners kissed images. Pages wore thin at favorite scenes. Paintings did not stand apart in white rooms. They lived in stone, wax, smoke, music, and prayer. By the late Middle Ages, themes widened. Donors wanted portraits with sharper likeness. City halls wanted stories that praised just rule. Merchants asked for images that brought honor to a craft or a guild. Yet sacred art remained the core. Even when painters tested measured perspective or studied anatomy, they did it to serve the story and the viewer's devotion. The Renaissance grew from this ground, rather than breaking from it in a day. How can a viewer today read a medieval painting with care? Start with the whole. What is the main action and who stands near it? Step closer and search for symbols that identify the figures. Look at hands and faces for the emotional key. Study the edges where gold meets paint. Those borders reveal the order of work. Notice where, at the places that viewers once touched or kissed. Think about where the piece once stood and how the light would have worked in that space. When you do this, the image shifts from old style to lived object. Painters of the Middle Ages were not primitive. They were precise within the needs of their time. They worked under law, liturgy, and contract. They built a shared visual language that crossed borders and languages. They taught through beauty and through order. They balanced symbol with observation as those needs changed. When later artists sought realism, emotion, and measured space, they did so with tools that these workshops had kept alive and refined, and with the people behind the names. A master dips a brush into egg and earth. An apprentice wipes a panel free of dust before laying gold. A nun leans close to a page and draws a tiny face no bigger than a fingernail. A patron signs a contract and promises payment in stages. A priest lifts a book to the light, and the page gleams back. The chain from quarry to altar and from shop to street is long, but the goal is simple. Give form to what matters and do it well enough that time will not wash it away. Medieval painters met that goal more often than many expect. Their work still speaks because it held fast to meaning while finding better ways to show it.